Good evening, students. Welcome to ACCA SBL Exam Preparation Revision Crash Course. My name is Mohammed Rizwan, and I'll be your guide for the session. The core of this revision crash course, the reason that why we started this, and you would notice that we offer it just near to the main examination. It's about uh, less than a month left for the main examination. So the basic idea is not to guide you through each and every detailed topic, because the presumption of this course, this crash course, is that the students already have gone through the main course and they are in the revision phase. And in the revision phase, the most appropriate way is to practice the exam paper questions. For that, we at Hamzah Academy have already shared some uh, 40 days, 30 days lesson plans for different revision plans for different subjects. I've also uploaded uh, my revision plan, 40 days revision plan on our platforms. So the basic idea is not to take you through the topical parts of the syllabus, rather focus more on how the students should prepare themselves for the paper, especially from the point of view of how to attempt the answers, identify what is required in the paper, and primarily the most important thing, what is the expectation of the examiner when they have given a question, what do they want to see in it. So in our 4 sessions of this revision course spread over 2 weeks, Saturday, Sunday, this one and the next one. This is the basic idea that we are going to focus on. So this crash course session, what are we going to cover in the whole crash course? This crash course, which is primarily in 4 main sessions and further divided in 2 subsessions, this weekend and the other weekend. For this weekend, this Saturday, today, and tomorrow's class, our exam focus is the March 2025 session paper on historic places. How will I take you through this? First, I will be guiding you on exam day approach. What you should take in your mind when you are going for the paper, and when you sit for the paper, what are the primary concerns that you have to follow? That will be our first area of discussion for today. I'll give you some very useful pointers, some very practical pointers that you should keep in account, and you have to practice those pointers while you are revising your exam for your exams and attempting different kinds of questions. Second, we will be diving deep into the pre-scene of that session. We will go through an analysis so that we know how to read a pre-scene and how to extract different kinds of knowledge as up to the required level of the paper and guidance by ACCL, by ACCA. Then with this are attached the exhibits. The exhibits that were provided during that paper session, those are also important, because in order to formulate your answers, you have to take exhibits in the primary focus with the pre-scene in the background, and you will have to attempt your answers accordingly. So we will go through the exhibits as well. Then will come the star of the show, the question-wise practice and guidance session. This will be divided over 2 sessions. In today's session, we will be able to cover question 1, part A, and possibly part B as well. And in tomorrow's session, if part B is not covered today, we will cover it tomorrow along with uh, part C and question 2, whole of it. It has 2 parts, and then question 3, which has 1 part. This will be conducted in second session. During the session, if you have any questions or queries, you are most welcome to ask in the chat section. I'll be happy to answer those for you. Okay. So let's get started with the first area, the exam day approach. You see, when the students are taking the exam, they have loads and loads of knowledge, those who have prepared properly, they have loads and loads of knowledge, and that knowledge has not been acquired only for the study of SBL. Basically, all the knowledge that they have from their foundation level, from different papers in the skills level, and also the syllabus content of SBL. All of these are therein, and on top of that, the anxiety of the paper, that this is a P-series paper, and provided that uh, you have not first completed the ethics module, or you have not attempted any other paper of P series, that will be a multifold problem. So, first of all, the key is to stay relaxed. And if you have studied properly, if you have actually devoted time as guided by your tutor or in our 40 days planner, if you have gone through all the preparations, you should rest assured that anxiety is not the solution. You should feel stressed when you have not given appropriate time for the preparation of the paper. That is genuine. But if you have studied properly, if you have gone through all the contents, you have understood the lectures, and you have attempted the exam practice sessions, or gone through all the guidance sessions that have been given to you, then you should not be stressed. Yes, there will be a little bit of stress, that is acceptable, but to the extent that would affect your judgment, that is not acceptable and that should not be there. So, for that, I'm giving you some pointers here which will help you in taking that day a bit in a less stressed environment. So these are the exam pointers that you should focus on the exam day. The first is understand the business landscape overall. Start with the initial scenario or the briefing note of the paper. Then gain a firm grasp of the industry, the organization's goals, challenges, and stakeholders. Now, here the business landscape is available from pre-scene. This means that before your paper, you should have already taken a detailed analysis, and we also issue a detailed analysis video before 2 weeks, right? When the pre-scene is issued, that day or the very next day, we try to upload or we try to conduct a live session on the pre-scene analysis for SBL. So you should also pay attention to those notices and messages when you would know that pre-scene analysis is now available and you should attend that class. So that creates a very important aspect. A 2 days, 2 weeks in advance of the paper, the whole background of the industry in which that business or that organization is going to operate, and the overall scenario of the business or the organization. What is that organization doing? What does it do? Is it in the private sector? Is it in the public sector? Is it in the uh, for-profit area, business area? Is it in the not-for-profit area? So you have to have a complete detailed background of that organization. And it is interesting that they have given about 2 weeks for that, so that you are able to ingest all the scenario. And remember, a key word here is that pre-scene is not there to be rote learned. Uh, Neither you should have given it so much thought that it undermines the rest of your studies and rest of your preparation for the exam. Because 2 weeks still for the paper, you still have a lot of time in which you will be practicing your answers. So it's not like that you give it so much thought that it takes efforts away from the actual practice. Now, the key that I will suggest is that you go through the detailed analysis with us, and then some questions would pop up in your mind for which you could refer back to the pre-scene. But that's it. The main purpose is just to give you the background and the context for that organization. So it will give you a brief, give you a comprehensive background and landscape of which the organization is going to do. So a better word here could be organization instead of business. Second thing, you must clarify what you are being asked. The primary thing. I mean, uh, when I say this, that you should be asked, I, in my heart, am feeling that maybe it come to the minds of the students that isn't it very obvious? Right now, it seems obvious, but in the paper, when we look at the examiner reports, which I'll be sharing with you, it seems that the students did not actually understood what is being asked of them, because they are not attempting the answer according to the requirement, rather whatever they have understood. So review all tasks and instructions carefully before diving into the case. So it gives you a bit of time to go through all the exhibits and all from through all the questions. So you should initially have a brainstorm and a main idea of what is going to be asked, or what is the paper about, what are the key areas that it is going to discuss. Knowing what and why behind each question helps prevent misdirection and wasted effort. A very key area, I must say, that you should know what is being asked, why means how is it linked to the organization in question. A very important area. Then also decode instructional language, the action verbs in the beginning. It also gives you an idea of what is the examiner asking. Spot and highlight the command word like evaluate, advise, assess, justify. These give you a view of what is or how you should formulate your answer. What are the steps that you're required to attempt your answer. These will shape your style and, very important, depth. Remember this word, depth. Many a times in the examiner reports, you will come across this, and the examiner is actually, rather than commenting, I would say he is actually complaining that students have not provided enough depth that was required of that question. Your shallow understanding, or if your understanding is fine, but your answering technique is shallow, you are not giving a deep answer, relating it to the environment of the organization and linking it up with the facts available in the pre-scene or the exhibits, that will create a very shallow answer. And at SBL level, examiner is not looking for shallow ones. Like in BT level or in AFD, if there were comments to be asked, that would be general. Yes, that is a MCQ based paper. These are MCQs papers at FD level. But if they were asking for the subjective answers, they wouldn't be asking for depth. But in professional series, you have gone through so many papers in the skills level, and now you are in the professional series. The way of thinking is the way of thinking that is required of the student at this time is that he should be thinking like a leader. So depth would go to think like a leader. That is the core of your paper, SBL, Strategic Business Leader. Now, a leader would not be focusing on a single dimension. He would approach a point from multi directions. That is a very important area. Then, break down the task elements. Most requirements are layered. Identify whether the question include multiple components or is it just talking about one thing. Tackling each part methodically ensures complete and balanced answers. Now, what is methodically? You should have a logical, step by step answer. 1 point per paragraph is should be fine. Uh, yes, if it makes a very small paragraph and the topics are very much interlinked, you could create one paragraph. But the idea is that, for example, if you are identifying a risk and suggesting its mitigation strategies, we should not be jumbled up. Based on the risks identified, you would provide a suitable strategy in the next paragraph. So break down what is required of you rather than attempting on the question as a whole. Then the fifth one is marks guide your time. Now, I've already uploaded a video on Hamzah Academy's portal on how to perform your time management. So in total, you have roughly, this is the key idea that you should take to your examination day. Roughly 18 marks for a question generally. So let the marks dictate your depth and time, not instinct. Instinct could be wrong. The questions could be devised in a way that could misguide you in that area, or uh, the question is from the point of view, from the okay, that actually 1.8 minutes per mark. That is a general rule of thumb. Now, why am I saying that you should not let instinct guide you? In sometimes, yes, it could be. In practical life, yes, it is suitable that you let your gut feeling, your instincts, be the decision maker, especially in those areas where we are talking about decisive actions and in urgent situations. But in paper, sometimes uh, the student has a better understanding on one part of the syllabus, say risks. You are very good at identifying and providing mitigation strategies of risks. So when the question asks you of it, now you have all the knowledge with you, and you will go so much deep into the answer that you will be sacrificing the other questions because you are quite happy with it, you know all about it, and now you want to throw in everything that you know. That is one of the important mistakes that the students make, and they should not make it. Like, if you know something about it, it's your aptitude wise, you like that particular subject area, or you have grasped that particular subject area in a better way, and you are guiding your paper attempting technique based on that, that will mislead you. So the idea, keep this to your mind, 1.8 minutes per mark of the question. Then absorb the case in full. Once you understand the requirements, review the entire case file. Read all the case file means here, all the questions, you have gone through all the exhibits. Okay, read all the exhibits thoroughly, email, board notes, financials, consultant reports, and highlight data, risk, trends, and stakeholder issues. A very important tip would be sometimes you would come across a phrase or a word which you will take very lightly and you will just go by. Now, remember, all the questions are drafted very methodically and they have been reviewed by so many people. It's not just like a home exam or a school exam that one teacher makes a test and gives it to you. No, the examiner has gone through multiple phases to make that question. So everything that is being asked, you have to be very, very clear. Do not, in the first attempt, uh, decide that yes, this is what is it asking. In the first instance, you went through. Okay, fine. That was a skim reading. Now, in this time, when you are going to attempt it, when you have to make a proper plan of the answer, you have to read it thoroughly again. All the steps, what could be possible or what could he be asking for each and every word. Think through implications. Before writing, pause to reflect. What are the strategic, operational, or ethical consequences of what I have identified? Strategic being more important, but yes, it will have its effect on the operations. And we see that most of the time we are going to focus on ethical or CSR related matters. So, what will be the consequence of that? This demonstrates commercial judgment or commercial acumen, and this strengthens your evaluation, a very important area. So do not just start writing and keep on writing. With every paragraph, just give it a thought. Okay, whatever I have written, how is it related to the answer, and uh, is it really important, or is there any other concern related to it which I have missed out? Okay, build a quick outline. Spend a few focused minutes mapping your response. I will be giving you a practice for this throughout the session, that you have to focus and you have to build a map. What will I write first? What will be then the second paragraph, third paragraph, so on and so forth, depending upon the question. What will I be talking about in this? What model will I be using? What will be the logical flow of the answer? What will be I describing first? What will be the second? So use a bullet points or brief headings to create a logical flow. This prevents repetition or redundancy, boosts clarity, and saves time during writing. Because you have a map, you are writing accordingly. Then crunch numbers where needed. If the exhibit contains data, it will. Do not ignore it. Yes. How, to what extent is it is going to be used? That's a separate story. But you do not just go through it like, okay, fine, I'll read it later. The profit and loss statement is given. Okay, fine, I know the format, and you skip. No, there are pointers in that that will need your attention. Where needed, you will do quick calculation, for example, a trend analysis, margin comparison, valuation insight, and integrate that insight to strengthen your arguments. This is the key area. Most times, you are not required to calculate the the from the formulae or from the ratios, etc. That was for the skills part. But you should be able to use that data for your answers, for your developing answers. And it is very important as well, because when you say that, because the profit and loss says that, because the income has increased to that level, but this has decreased to this level, and it my suggestion is this, or my recommendation is this, or this is the reason that I am talking about that. That gives the examiner the taste of what you actually are doing. You know about it, and you know how to link it to the question. You are not just saying that sales have dropped because a new competitor has entered into a market. Not like that. You will have to give solid justifications for this. And finally, write with a purpose and professionalism. Like, keep in mind that you are not a student, you are a business analyst, you are a consultant, you are a CEO, whatever the role may be in that particular question. So keep that in mind. Think like a leader. Use appropriate structure, clear headings, and professional tone. Stick to the required format. Now, many a times we would see in examiner reports that this has not been a major issue. Most of the students, they make good use of the format. They know the report format, memo or email or slides, presentation format, whatever. That's not an issue, but it does not mean that you do not pay attention to it. You have to follow the format. So your writing should reflect that of a senior manager or a consultant. Practical, focus, and audience appropriate. A very key important area. You are not writing answers to a person who's not there. Just keep like that. You are writing to the CEO. Your business tone, your answer tone should be appropriate to that. You are addressing the board of directors. Your tone should be addressed like that. Do not use slang languages. Do not use simple short forms like won't is not appropriate. Would not is better. This tells you, this tells the examiner that you know how to write in a business environment. Okay, this was the exam day approach. We'll take a short 5 minutes break and then we will continue with the pre-scene analysis, which will form the basis of our today's session. Let's see if in the meanwhile other students would also join. Okay, as our focus of today's session is March 2025 paper, we'll first go through pre-scene analysis of this and then we will dig into the paper questions. So I've already uploaded the material, the pre-scene and the exhibits on the portal. If you haven't already downloaded it, I highly suggest that you go through it and read it. As long with that, you will be studying your uh, going through this video if you are going through a recorded session. Now, as is the tradition in pre-scene, they divide it into two parts. First is the industry part, and the second is the business part or the organization's detailed overview. So this historic places, it lies in the charitable sector. Charities support public welfare through various causes, for example, poverty relief, education, history, and prevention. They generate income via donations, membership fee, commercial activities, and fundraising because primarily these are not for profit organizations. Regulated by Charity Supervisory Board, CSB, in this country to ensure ethical operations and financial transparency. Large charities which are over $10 million income must report internal controls and risk management. Okay. Now, the further subsector in this charity is that of heritage. This focuses on preventing culturally and historically significant sites. There are two large charities, historic places that protects sites over 300-year old. So that is the specific segment that they are focusing. The other one is Living the Past, LTP, that focuses on sites that are less than 300 years old. Now, generally, why would be this information important? This is the analysis part. Now, this is when I was saying we have to look for the depth. Is do not right away go, okay, fine, more than 300, less than 300, and just memorize it. No, it makes a very important point here to understand. Those sites which are over 300 years old, in order to sustain them to the closest of their original situation, it is very difficult because the weather deterioration, because of climate and change, and that is the challenge faced mentioned here as well. Site deterioration, because the older the site, the more expensive, complex, and difficult it would be to maintain it to the original position. So it will be the challenge, the age and climate changes and pollution in top on top of that, because that is the major difference for those who are going for above 300 and below 300. Activities that include in this heritage subsector is the site conservation, public engagement, education, and commercial operations. There are different challenges faced in this sector. First is the site deterioration, second is the economic downturn because of reduced donations and site visits, and it will be an important challenge. Volunteer dependency, because it is a charitable sector, it depends a good deal on the volunteers which are not paid. These are unpaid workforce, and because they are not paid, that there is an irregular commitment. They are there with you for the cause, and because they are not paid, yes, obviously they will have to spend their time, or they will be spending their time, that time which is free, with your volunteer activities, because they would be, suppose they are students, obviously a person who is already on job, the job will be his priority, and he will not be able to give you time, or if he gives you time, that will not be a committed time. I mean, regular, he cannot promise you to be regularly available on all the events any time of the day or the week. Obviously, when the event is announced, you will have to have, you will announce it, and you will have those volunteers available who have free time at the for that occasion. So that goes for irregular commitment, and that will be a continuing challenge. Competition from other non-heritage charities, because this is one segment that you are focusing. For example, there will be limited donor funds. Donors would be looking into which subsector should they provide. For example, there could be, in the charitable sector, there could be poverty relief and education, etc. Okay, here we could have a pestle and sword analysis to for strategic challenges. And there could be available recommended growth strategies, for example, digital marketing. We'll talk about it in the paper. Online education. Apply Porter 5 forces to assess the competitive pressure. These could be the possible areas that we will be looking into. Okay, in this industry, who are the main stakeholders? The main stakeholders, number one, are the trustees. They oversee the charity and ensure it follows rules and manages risks appropriately. And these trustees also set the strategy for the organization. They are unpaid and accountable to the supporters, regulators, and the general public. The executive management, they are paid employees responsible for daily operations, working as a board or a committee. There could be other employees, include staff at head office and site workers, which could be full-time or part-time. In addition to these, we also have volunteers. These are unpaid individuals who help at sites in their free time without any contractual obligation. So this is what I was referring to. that when they are providing you service without any charges, without any payment, or without anything promised to them in as a reward, so they will be without any contractual obligations. They may even uh, tell you that they are busy at the at the very moment, at the 11th hour, that your event is about to take start and they are no show. That is also a very likely possibility. Donors, they give money without expecting anything in return. That is the core of the charities, that they do not need anything in return, either as one time or regular contribution. So one challenge could be to analyze how many of them are one time payers, or who are the regular contributions, and to convert the one time ones, attracting them to our events and converting them into regular contributories. Members pay an annual or lifetime fee or benefits like free site access. So these could be regular contributories, and these get different benefits. They pay annual or lifetime fee, and they become free site access. They have free site access, or they also have voting rights at the AGMs. For example, electing trustees, etc. They do not own the charity or bear its debts. Okay, non-member visitors, these pay a fee to visit charity sites, and these are an important source of, or could be an important source of income. Guarantors agree to cover some charity debts if it goes bankrupt, but do not take part in the daily activities. Charity Supervisory Board is a very important stakeholder, government body that monitors charities and ensures compliance. The key area. And media, finally, a very important stakeholder that can promote the charity's good work or create a bad publicity. Either way, it will have a positive as well as negative influence for the for any of the competitors in this sector. If issuers such as misuse of fund. So you could relate this with the compliance insurance. Okay. Now, within the within this industry, we have different key performance indicators for various uh, areas. Now, remember that this was the first time that ACCA brought a not-for-profit organization into the mix. Initially, from the start, it was usually any uh, uh, since this pre-scene has been launched, they would go for a business organization. But this time they were inclined towards not for profit. So there is a mix of some things here. Now we will have a bit of different uh, KPIs because this is a not for profit organization. So profit is not the main factor here. But financials are, because money is involved, donations are there, and we have just looked that a misuse of fund is uh, not something that could be not looked into. So financial indicators and income, membership fee and donations, site admission fees, how to improve that, income from commercial activities from, for example, shops and catering that these businesses, these charities are working on the sites, income generated per visitor from shops and catering activities. Then expenditure KPIs, site operating cost, how to keep them at a minimum. And here is the problem that lies for when we say that some, just like ours, HP, deals with the sites over 300 years old. So a very important uh, aspect of KPIs is here. Site maintenance and conversion cost, administrative expenses, and employees cost. Now, employees cost could be reduced with the help of volunteers, but the volunteers have a problem of no obligation attached to them. So how to keep a mix of that? Operating margin and surplus of income over expenditure that goes to our economy. Non-financial indicators could be commitment number of members that are committed, donors, volunteers, a key area, visitors to the site, whether they are going to be repeat customers or not. Education and development, number of educational visits to the sites from the schools or colleges, etc. Training days for staff and volunteers, and trainees employed. This is something which is usually not looked into, but it is also very, very important. Conservation of preservation, number of hours spent on conservation, objects worked on, different artifacts, different old objects, maintenance projects completed. These will be conservation or preservation areas. Satisfaction, feedback from members and visitors, feedback from employees and volunteers, and percentage of annual members renewing. A very important area which could be linked from like first time or only time pairs to full time or long term pairs. Environment resource consumption, and that would be linked with your conservation and preservation areas. Percentage of energy obtained from renewable sources goes to our environmental factors and maybe possibly CSR factors. Waste and recycling rates and emissions also for the CSR activities. With this, we will go through a little bit of organization's background. With the headquarters located in Rhodesia's capital city, Historic Places is a heritage charity in Rhodesia committed to safeguarding and maintaining historical sites over 300 years old. The organization works to protect, restore, and make culturally and historically significant landmarks accessible to public. Okay. Their focus is very clear. They are there to safeguard those landmarks which to which customer visits are possible. This means that they have not been declared such to be at such a level where people's presence cannot be allowed in order to maintain that the originality of the area. Obviously, when people would visit a site, and on one hand we will have a KPI for increasing the number of visitors because it will be giving us more earnings. Then the more the number of visitors, more efforts and more finances will be required for to maintain that area. More the number of visitors, more degradation because they'll be coming just by moving in that place. There will be certain requirements of proper maintenance, and then they are allowed to touch some things over there, or maybe when they have kids over there running around, things like that. There's always a possibility that something will be damaged and it will need to be repaired or brought to the originality. So that is also a challenge. What is their business model? HP registered as company limited by guarantee, which we studied earlier, that there are guarantors who have guaranteed that in case this goes bankrupt, this goes into liquidation, we will pay a certain amount of debt that is to the limit of their guarantee. This does not distribute profits, but reinvests all its income to support its mission. So, this means that if we are able to generate more income, there is a possibility that we will have lesser dependency on the donors. Its revenue model minimizes dependency on any single income. So we have funds available from donors, and we have different types of donors. In addition to that, we have uh, other support like commercial activities, sightseeing, etc. However, economic factors such as Adesia's recession, because it is in a facing a downside economic wise, may impact discretionary spending on donation and site visits. So people, if they are in the country is in recession, obviously the donations are least of our concern at that time, and saving money for ourselves is of more importance. What are the main areas that they look into? Site preservation, that is restoring and maintaining castles, museums, and other historic sites. This is their main functioning area. Public engagement, they organize guided tours for the public, educational visits, and interactive experiences as well. They provide cultural education, facilitating school trips, training conservationists, and collaborating with different universities. Commercial areas that they are looking into is running different shops, catering services, and event venues to generate revenue. So this is a very important area to minimize dependency on single income. But both, just like donations, this will also be affected negatively because of the recession. Okay. As far as the governance of the organization goes, they have a two-tier governance system, board of trustees, which looks after the executive board. This oversees strategy, compliance, and governance, whereas executive board manages daily operations, CEO, directors of finance, marketing, HR, and operations. So we look at the executive board structure. We have operations director, we have finance director, marketing director, HR director, and IT director. Again, if we look at it superficially, no one within this is tasked with compliance separately, or anyone who specifically looks into the issues of uh, possible frauds or misuse of funds. Yes, we can safely say that finance director would be looking after that, but specifically there is no specification for any role that is specifically from the uh, point of view of risk assessment. They are not looking into it. Okay. Now we are going to study in detail different stakeholders' key points and a little bit of further digging deep into the pre-scene uh, for HP. Members, there are about 5 million members with annual membership only. There is no lifetime option available here. Benefits for these are that they will have free site access. This means you're trading off the annual charges for the free site access. This specifically will not be generating any funds. Newsletters, they will receive newsletter which will incur costs, and email updates. What are their rights? They will attend annual general meeting, they will vote for trustees and approve auditors. They review financial reports and submit non-binding resolutions for trustees to consider. This again is an important area. So employees, 4,000 full-time and part-time employees. These include those in the commercial subsidiary. They work at head office and various sites. So they are spread out. Some staff have long-term service with HP, and this shows their long-term commitment to the cause. Sales are average for the charity sector, but lower than commercial organization. And then why is that they are long-term service with them? Because again, with their commitment to the cause. Many people, many employees accept lower pay due to their commitment to HB's mission. Then we have volunteers. In comparison with 4,000 full-time, we have 20,000, 5 times that of the employees are the volunteers. They support HP's operation. They act as guides for visitors, working in catering facilities and shops, assisting with site maintenance. And yes, they will be learning things from there, getting themselves education for site maintenance and historical heritage prevention. Suppliers and contracts, a very important stakeholder. Suppliers and inventory policies for catering and shops are managed centrally by HP's procurement team. External contractors handle regular site maintenance and major projects, whereas large one-time projects are assigned to contractors on a one-off basis. Okay. What are the possible key risks? Reputation risk. Negative publicity could reduce donations and membership renewals. You can take this into consideration when you are attempting the answers. Financial risks, falling income may impact conservation efforts. Operational risk, employee and volunteer shortage could limit site operation. So for employee, we have 4,000 which are spread in the head office as well as the sites, and with volunteers about 20,000, a lot volunteers, but still they are not committed. So where our site operations will be affected. Health and safety risks, site hazards and extreme weather conditions, which could not only provide a problem for conservation, but also provide some health and safety risks, cybersecurity risks, potential data breaches affecting members and donors, and we will be talking about electronic component of the marketing in the paper as well. Okay, financing points, membership fee, which is about 42%. It is the most consistent one, approximately 5 million members. Members pay annual fee for benefits. We have already talked about it. Membership fee ensures a stable and recurring income, even though you trade it off with the free site access. But you see, members, because they are paying, it is not necessary that they visit each and every site, even though they have free access. It does not mean that they will attend each and every site that, again, obviously, it's like a going to view an art gallery. You do it in your free time. It's a leisure activity. It's not a compulsory activity that you must do or a chore that you have to do every weekend. So yes, that is a trade-off, but not likely to be much affecting. Donations, which is 16%, this changes based on people's interest, and it could be linked with the recent downturn in the economy. Donations from individuals, corporate sponsors, and philanthropic organizations, fundraising campaigns, legacy gifts, and online donations are key revenue drivers. Admission fee 14%, these are linked to the visitors. Non-members pay a one-time fee to visit. For example, they have to buy a ticket or a coupon. Fees vary depending upon the site's popularity and the facilities. So there is no one static, one size fits all type of fee. Then commercial activities about 15 and from shops and 13% from the catering services. Various commercial activities or ventures generate additional income. They include shops, they're selling guidebooks, souvenirs, and historical memorabilia. Catering, operating cafes and restaurant at major sites, event hosting, renting out venues for wedding and corporate activities and private functions. And this is a very interesting area, which if looked into could provide a very suitable uh, benefits, very suitable benefits for the organization, as there would be a main chunk of the people who or the population who would want their events, weddings, birthdays, etc., hosted in quieter places. And these heritage websites are quieter in comparison with commercial areas like hotels and wedding halls, etc. So a good idea could be like if we go into marketing and market this into the minds of people, that will be a good revenue generating activity. Government grants and funds, possible grants from the government bodies to support heritage conservation projects. This is to help finance large scale restoration and maintenance efforts. From key areas, revenue growth, stable, but it is impacted by economic conditions. Future consideration could be strengthen fundraising and commercial strategies. Support and visitor engagement. Membership basis is stable, but engagement needs enhancement. This is the extract from the pre-scene. Improve digital outreach and on-site experiences. Commercial income, growing revenue from shops and catering and events. Further investment in commercial expansion is also possible, which could be linked to this. Operational cost increasing due to maintenance and staffing. As I explained earlier, because we are focusing on sites above 300 years old, the every year this cost will increase because every year the site is growing older. Improve cost management and efficiency. That would be the strategy here. Donation and grants, unstable and dependent on external factors. Strengthen donor engagement and diversify funding. Try to convert them into permanent members. Okay. Operation activities, site maintenance and conservation, maintenance of over 350 historical sites to prevent deterioration and protect artifacts. Use of external contractors for major restoration projects, and this will lead us to further costs. Visitor and membership services, management of on-site ticketing, membership and guided tours, coordination of special exhibitions, educational workshops and events are conducted. Commercial operations include retail and catering services, ensuring alignment with the heritage theme. That is important. You're not just operating a cafe, you're operating a cafe which goes along with that theme of that particular site. Fundraising and donor relations, running marketing campaigns to attract new members and donors, partnering with corporations and cultural organizations for sponsorship. So a strategy for improvement would be coordinating and collaborating with other similar type of organizations. Volunteer coordination is also very important. Managing a network of 20,000 plus volunteers who assist with villager services, conservation efforts and events. It is a good challenge, a big challenge. Training and engagement initiatives to improve volunteer retention. IT systems, key points. This is going to be a main area. Information system meet HP's administrative needs and complies with the data protection regulations. Computerized systems support major operational functions. HP's website promotes its activities, facilitates donations, and enables membership sign up. Now, it does not talk about whether there are any payment procedures available. Is it just a sign up, or is it a sign up including uh, payments right through website or some other way? Each site has a dedicated web page with history, maps, facilities, and news. Now, each site has a dedicated web page, means they have more than one site. This is the extract from their website. Inspire. We want to inspire everyone who visits us in imaginative and authentic ways. Again, authentic is very important when you go for preservation. We aim to stimulate our visitors' minds and provoke their emotions. A very interesting inspiration. Access to our country's history enriches everyone's lives. We want our visitors to have the privilege of standing on the spot where history happened and to live our country's story. Okay, now everyone's lives. This could be, they could attract other people or foreign visitors, foreigners, tourists. Engage and entertain. We want everyone who visits us to love the time they spend with us. We engage our visitors by bringing fascinating true stories of our sites to life, and this links to the volunteers availability. We use creativity and imagination to delight and entertain our visitors. That with volunteers, their proper education on how to engage the visitors. It is very, very important. Millions share our beliefs that history is important for everyone, and we want to provide opportunities for them to engage with us. We rely on the generous support of the members, donors, and volunteers. We want to build our relationship with them. And with this, you can facilitate further more sign-ups. Conserve. We protect sites and objects which urgently need our care. Looking after them for the benefits of present and future generations is central to everything which we do. We aim to preserve and develop our collections, increasing in our understanding through expert research. We protect the future of our sites by being part of the worldwide fight against climate change. Now, when we are saying against climate change, where is our CSR director? Greener energy, minimizing waste, and increasing our use of recycled resources. Our performance is measured against increasing the rigorous sustainability targets. Again, is there any designated authority within the organization's board or any of the boards who would be looking at this target area? Okay, we'll take a short break now, about 5 minutes, and then we will start on our exhibits. Okay, now we'll be looking into the exam exhibits because these are now available as main part of the paper during the exam, and with pre-seen information that we have analyzed so far in the background, we will be looking into each question, and with that we will be attempting the questions. Okay, the first exhibit is the letter from CEO to the senior consultant. That will be your role in this paper. From CEO, date 4 March, that is the standard date for references, 2020 2015, and subject is changes at historic places. The trustees want me to drive forward strategic change at HP. There are three areas where I need your advice. Program of changes. I want to introduce a program of changes which maximize the income we can obtain from our assets so that we have more funds to fulfill our charitable purpose. The program includes our site hosting more hospitality events such as weddings, and also putting on special exhibitions for which we can charge separate fee. I want more employee and volunteer time to be spent on income generating activities such as giving guided tours for free. I also want to invest in e-commerce to provide new sales channel for our goods and in e-marketing to increase our visibility. However, I know that I may face issues in implementing this program. These include the need to maintain our charitable purpose and comply with their other restrictions on our activities. I have to consider how prepared our employees and volunteers will be to change. I also need to assess whether we have resources to implement the change effectively and how I can lead the implementation of change. Number two, executive boards and remuneration and employment contracts. I must ensure we keep top quality executive management team. What I propose is benchmarking the salaries of key members of the executive board against the salary in the commercial sector. Okay. Now, for the from the preview, from the pre-scene, we know that the employees are paid average within the sector, but less than the commercial sector. And he is using benchmark of commercial into the charitable sector, a tricky point, and increasing them is required. Our marketing director is joining a company in commercial sector for much higher salary, and I want avoid other executive board members leaving. This will be a challenge, of course. Paying an annual bonus to executive board, which is a percentage of annual financial surplus which HP achieves. Now, paying an annual bonus is usually for executive is usually for the business sector, but here he wants to apply it in the charity sector. And with the absence of profit, he replacing profit for the surplus. The amount of bonus will be split equally amongst all members of the staff, including myself. And why equally? This could be a main question. Increasing the length of executive board members' employment contracts from 1 year to 3 years to help to motivate them to stay at HP. Now remember, 1 year requirement is that of the governance requirement, whereas 3 years is legally allowed. These are two different things. Okay. Leadership qualities. I shall be presenting to the executive board on leadership qualities they need to demonstrate to support the changes I propose. Particularly, what is needed to ensure changes are implemented successfully and to deal effectively with the important stakeholders. Okay, this was the first exhibit, a very, very important one. And the first uh, question, all three areas we will be looking into this. Exhibit number two is the comparison of sites performance. And again, I have already uploaded these exhibits on the portal. So when I'm giving you time to answer, frame your answer, not the complete answer, frame the main mapping of the answer, you can refer to these. Okay. It is giving comparison between two sites, Stowwater and Thruworth, between the years 2014 and 2013, and the percentage changes in the income, expenditure, operating margin, members visits, non-member visits, employees, volunteers, educational visits. All the data is provided available for comparison between two sites. Visitor satisfaction rating, 3 stars, 2 stars, and 1 star. Both sides had a 5% increase in admission charges to non-member visitors at the start of 2004. Now, this could affect all of these areas, whether the number of visits have increased or decreased, etc. And that could be a challenging point. Now, this both sides have increased. So we should see that is the effect equally affecting both or not. If not, then what could be the reason? Both sites achieved level of operating loss in 2004, which were within the budget. The satisfaction ratings have been obtained from the questionnaires completed by site visitors. 3 stars is the highest rating, 1 star is the lowest. So, in general, if we take the first glance, we see that most 52%, 56%, 75%, 71%, these fall in the 3 star categories. Least are unsatisfied. Number three, shop operating procedures. Again, a letter for to senior consultant from consultant. This is yourself, senior consultant. I visited the shop at 4 HB sites. These shops were of varying size, two smaller and two larger. I noted the following points. All 4 shops were staffed by volunteers only, a very critical area. At all 4 shops, normally only one volunteer is on duty at any one time. The volunteer serves customer, again, a very important area. The volunteer serves customer and is also expected to walk around the shop when not serving the customer to deter theft, a risk. All the shops are locked up overnight. The shops do not have their own alarm systems. Purchases for all shops are made by HP's central procurement function. Shops contact the central procurement function when they need to be restocked. All the two large shops, At the two large shops, sales are recorded on electronic tills, cash registered, which automatically update inventory records. At the two smaller shops, a manual till is used and sales are written down on a ledger by the volunteer staffing the shop. Inventory records are generally updated weekly. The volunteers staffing at the 4 shops carry out inventory counts quarterly. Count records are reconciled, differences recorded and reported to the site's operation manager. Differences found in the inventory count were not investigated at 3 of the shops. No central review takes place of shops' inventory records. Remember, we talked about misuse of funds and we do not have proper controls here. The item stock depend on the size of the shop and determined by the central procurement function. Inventory records do not record how long the items have been held at the shop. The inventory count includes a review of whether any items appear to be in poor condition, but there is no other review for items held for a long time. Payment for sales at the two larger shops can be either cash or bank card, but the two small shops only accept cash payments. Again, a risk for theft. Cash is held tills overnight. Okay, a very serious alarming situation. It is meant to be banked weekly, but whether this happens depend on the workload of the person responsible for banking. Okay, exhibit fundraising blog. The recession in Rhodesia has meant charities faced more competition for their supporters' money. Charities need to find the best ways to obtain their support. However, the action some have taken have resulted in adverse media comments, damaging the reputation of the charitable sectors as a whole. Charities which are most successful in obtaining funds are those which have a clear strategy of using e-marketing to appeal for support. A charity website remains a key asset. The website must make clear what is special about the charity and show it is achieving, convincing supporters that their money over time will be well spent. Now, this could be a very key area. We got a website extract from the pre-scene and whether it is very clear on what is special about it, what is it doing differently than the competitors, that's up to you. That could be a judgment question. However, a charity website is likely to be viewed mostly by viewers and who are already aware of the charity and are actively interested in its work. A charity needs to stimulate interest in other ways. It needs to have a media strategy which covers the diverse media viewed by the charity supporters and needs to use different media to promote its work, involve supporter and attract donations. The charity must also consider carefully the different ways supporters can be contacted and how messages can be sent in ways which will make it an immediate impact on them. It should also be easy for supporter to contact the charity. In all this, charities must be aware of the data produced about the impact of their activities and how they can use it to build relationship with their donors. This means data produced can also go for data security measures or data protection laws. Charities must also consider potential threats to their image caused by their fundraising practices. There have been media reports of aggressive tactics being used in face-to-face collections of money, with collectors pressuring vulnerable people. Many people have complained about being contacted too frequently by phone, email, or text. Telephone callers from charities have also been criticized for not being immediately clear that they are seeking donations or for making untrue exaggerated claims about the charity's activities. This is a very key area for you to consider. This shows the problems and need for training of your employees who are going to contact all volunteers who are going to contact the potential donors. Lots of people have been worried about how charities use their personal information. Many complaints have arisen from situations where charities have used third-party fundraisers to raise funds on their behalf. It has been reported that many charities have not published their guidelines on fundraising or how concerns about fundraising tactics should be reported. Okay. Now, we are going to dive into specific questions. First, I'll give you a brief background of this session in terms of how the answer approach will work. Like with every question, I'll give you some time, every part, I'll give you some time to phrase the answer, or sorry, write a map out a bullet point for your what will be you writing for your answer. And then I will guide you through the examiner report. What did the examiner comment on that? What were the positives? What were the negatives? And that will give you the idea of what examiners want in it. And then I'll give you a detailed answer as well, just for reference and or how to phrase your answer. But these suggested answers cannot cover every valid point the candidates may raise. This means that you will be awarded for any relevant points, whether these are included in our answer approach or not. Maybe you see things in a different way, as long as, remember, it is related to the answer and you provide facts for this or statements from this from the exhibits or pre-scene, that is fine. So even if it is not included in the suggested answer, but your case point is to the point, the point that you have raised is to the point and valid, you will get points for that. So do not think that when you map out a plan, you wrote a point and it is not included in here. You and can also ask me in the chat section that I raised this point and this is the reason for that. If there is a valid reason, then that should be fine. In integrated case study exam, just like this, candidates can reuse points from one question if applied in the correct context. This means all of these are about one organization and you're as a single uh, consultant or a single supportive position. Like your role is specific. Now, if you use your answer from one question and use that in question number 3, that is fine, as long as it is within proper context. So you do not think of all these questions as separate areas. This is one holistic case study exam. Suggested answers provide more detail than expected in the actual exam condition because we want you to learn from different points. They include key points drawn from the case information. Purpose of suggestion is to demonstrate to the structure and approach expected from the candidates. They reflect on a range and depth of knowledge shown by well-prepared students and also serve as a tool for revision and teaching for future exam. Well, maybe some of you could be teachers. Okay. Now, before starting it, we have to take a fresh start. Uh, I will give you the question and will give you some time to write down your answer, not the detailed answer, mind you, because we will not have that much time here. But you will write a detailed bullet by bullet, point by point, your plan on what you would include in this answer. So here is the question one, part A. In order to prepare the detailed map, I'll give you prepare answer plan. I'll give you 10 minutes and then we will discuss the examiner's view and the answers therein. You may please start. Okay, with the background, we what are we required to do is to prepare a report. So the required format is that of a report, which is a bit more formal. The language used in the report is a bit more formal and its structure is more formal and more detailed. Answer is more detailed. For HPCO, which discusses the contextual features of HP which she need to consider when implementing her proposed program of changes. Now, professional skills marks are available for demonstrating communication skills by clarifying to the CEO the contextual features she needs to consider for successful implementation of her program. So here, these are for the tactical area and these are the professional area that we need to focus on. Now, first, in our steps, we will discuss the what does examiner have to say about it, and that will set us a framework of how we should plan our answers. What is their expectation? Okay. Now, first, the required focus. Contextual features were the main subject of the requirement, meaning the answer should have been structured around these features, not around the proposed program of changes. So, this is the main thing. You see, in the beginning, I told you that you have to understand what is the examiner asking you. He is not talking about what changes are to be done, but what are the factors that would affect those changes. Use of Bologan and Hopenhaley's contextual model was helpful for generating ideas and structuring the answer, and significant number of candidates successfully used this model. This is a good thing. Commonly discussed aspects, many candidates covered the need for continued adherence to charity's objective, particularly building conservation, the capability and readiness of employees and volunteers to adopt change, and whether HP had necessary final resources were also frequently discussed. Uh, Again, when I'm discussing this, try to compare it with the answers that you already have in your formulated section for which I gave you time. Aspects discussed less often, fewer candidates address the following. Factors affecting the scope of change beyond HP's constitution and charity law, whether the diversity of previous experience of employees would facilitate the change, which could be a very important area, whether HP or its employees had previous experience of change, again, very important area. The time scale of change at the need and the need for CEO to decide which aspect should be implemented first. The issue of power, including the necessary support from trustees and potential power of opposition from the stakeholders. Now, if in your point of reference, your plan of answer, if these are missing, now you know that the examiner is looking for these. Continuing with the same, lack of depth. Candidates often limited their available marks by merely describing the contextual feature instead of explaining how these factors would impact implementation of CEO's change plan. Just like I told you in the beginning, depth is required at SPL. And what is meant by depth? It means that you do not just describe something, you have to link it with the scenario. What were the main weaknesses? Now, if your point of reference, if your planning is including these, you should be alert. Many answers fail to focus on the required contextual, internal, or organizational elements. Instead of focusing on contextual features, some candidates structured their answer around the proposed program of change, including outcomes and benefits and drawbacks, etc. So they totally went off track. Or the process implementation change. They did what steps will be taken to change. It's not asking about that. It is asking about the contextual features. Yes, because change management is quite interesting for some students. They would, when they see the word change, they will quickly jump to the final steps, maybe to the Levin's three stages that you have to unfreeze, implement, and then refreeze. That is not required here. Some answers use unhelpful models like Pastel, which led them to focus on external environment instead features rather than internal contextual features. Candidates occasionally wasted time in discussing topics belonging to other requirements such as director remuneration, which will be discussed in task B, on e-marketing, which is the requirement of task 3. A significant weakness was concentrating only a small number of contextual features, especially employees and staff, and repeating the material related to them. The redundancy, as I explained earlier, it will not get you marks. Writing answer in detail but useless, repeating the same concept again in different words, it's not going to get you marks. Failure to recognize contextual features as part of section H of syllabus was likely factor in some candidates failing to focus the contextual elements. Okay. Now, for the communication skill, the professional skills marks. Skills assessed was professional skills marks were available for demonstrating communication skills by clarifying contextual features the CEO needed to consider. As by now you know that the professional skills marks, these are not separate. You get these marks by how you structure and formulate your answer. Every question will have some part of communication attached to it. But when it is asking for skepticism, then you would be probing and challenging in a professional manner. Communication will still be there. If it is asking for commercial acumen, you will be more focusing on writing about how it brings in different industry factors altogether and still communicating in a professional manner. So it's not like communication is a totally different area, but in this case, sometimes it is highlighted more. So we have to be more conscious. And how do you do that? Impact of structure. Mark for professional skills were often dependent on how candidates structured their answer. A logical step-by-step answer was required. Higher marks. Which candidates got higher marks? Who structured their answers around contextual features, generally presented the information clearly, and obtained higher professional marks. And lower marks were for those students who, in other ways, for example, professionals were often limited, sometimes 1.3 marks, as the answer did not clearly present the CEO with the necessary information on contextual feature for effective decision making. Again, remember, the examiner also is referring him, the CEO, the fictitious employer in this case, because this is your role, this is your job as a consultant, you have to address to the CEO. Most candidates successfully produced answers in the appropriate right format. And this we will see in most of the cases. This is an easier way, easier thing that candidates generally know how how the format should be used, email, presentations, whatever. So that is not much point of a concern, but this does not mean that you do not pay attention to the formats at all. Okay. With this, now I am going to go with you through the sample answer Again, just like I explained earlier, this sample answer does not necessarily mean that you must have written the same concepts, the same ideas, the same features, the same points. Your points could be different, but they will be equally valid as long as those relate to the question or the scenario in question.